Hi, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast. As the owners of Hired Hand website software, we've been developing websites and creating internet marketing strategies for livestock breeders for the past 10 years.
The majority of our customers are involved in the breeding of registered animals, such as Texas Longhorns, Highland cattle, horses, and white-tailed deer, where the pedigrees are very important. The From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast examines many of the differences in raising pedigreed livestock for maximum profit. Join us and learn what we're covering today.
Okay, so today I'm joined with Buster Butler of Butler Texas Longhorns. Thanks for joining us, Buster.
Howdy, glad to be here.
Why don't you start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself, your family, your breeding program?
All right. I was raised on a little small farm. We had everything known to man animal-wise, from chickens, guineas, pigs, goats, peacocks. There ain't no telling what my dad would bring home. And we've always enjoyed it. So it didn't take too long before in my later years or adult life, I got back into it. 12 years ago when I was 22, I moved to Tulsa. I had nothing but a truck note. I mean, nothing. And I'm really glad I ended up moving because it made me, branch out and start looking for ways to really grow and start some businesses and get into a little real estate. So anyway, that's how we started. We have Chapman, our son, Talia and I, and that little boy is a firecracker now. There's been all kinds of humorous things he can do, or he's done. Last summer, my mom actually had him up here, or she was here at our place, and I killed a chicken snake about 5-6 foot long. And she's deathly afraid. That little joker's 3 years old chasing her down the driveway. So anyway, we have a ball of fun. He's our pride and joy, aside from the cattle.
Well, I know that anyone that's been to some of the events that you've had him at has really enjoyed getting to know him. Everything from, I think I've seen him waving a catalog around, possibly bidding. I don't know if you knew he was bidding on anything, but waving a catalog around during sales to just running around with some of the other kids. It's always fun to see him.
Oh gosh. Last year, September at the Legends sale, they got into the water and made mud holes, and they were wearing, him and all the kids he was wearing the mud head to toe. So yeah, he's an interesting character for sure.
Well, a question we ask everyone after they tell us a little bit about themselves is why Longhorns? What made you decide that they were the best fit for your ranch and your family?
Well, we had commercial cows, and I remember I used to hit the sale barn every week. We'd buy goats. I made a lot more money quickly, I guess, with the goats, but starting off. And we went to sale barn every week, and I'd always buy, I would say, trader cattle or something. Well, I ended up buying a nice young heifer that I thought, commercial-wise, and we were going to keep her, and she ended up dying like the next day. And he called sale barn, and obviously they say there's nothing they can do. And and we're a small farm, so I'm like, this just messed up most of the profits from the cattle, since they don't make no money anyway, hardly commercial-wise. And I was like, we've got to get out of this. I've got to figure out something else. And what's funny is right after that, a scenario happened. Talia has a friend, and they ended up having a registered Longhorn bull and heifer in their backyard. They lost their lease, and they were looking just to get rid of it. And I literally lowballed them over and over and told them I ain't got no use for those. And they ended up taking $750 for the pair. Well, once I got a hold of them, I ended up making a post on Facebook because I started researching. I'm seeing cattle from $800 on ranches to $25,000, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the heck? And so I make a post on Facebook, and I mean, I was bombarded. There were so many people in the small world that, Longhorn industry, and I was really surprised. And so that really piqued my interest to start seeing all the numbers on just the variety of pricing and that the Longhorns provided. So that's where I kind of transitioned at that point to enjoying the Longhorns, and it started off with a $750 pair.
So after that first pair, who are some of the breeders that when you asked for advice, maybe you grew close and learned a lot more from them, or who did you purchase some of the Longhorns that followed from?
So that first sale, this was in January of 2019, and so I was researching, and then after that post, I got swarmed by so many people. I had one person message me. It stood out. So Johnny Hicks said, "Don't buy nothing. Just call me. We need to talk." And Johnny offered all this wisdom and started getting bloodlines and genetics and pairings and even getting on hired hands so you could see all the offspring. And we ended up getting, Gary Don Taylor had a little dispersal sale January 2019, and we ended up buying a few from there. So we ended up buying a Butler cow. Her name was Red River Darling, Coach daughter. We got a Rio daughter. Let's see. Got a Cowboy Check's daughter out of the Tari line. And all these were middle-aged animals, so we got them pretty cheap because that's where my price was at the time, not knowing and understanding how the values come about.
So do you still have some of those original ones that you purchased today?
I actually have got a few heifers finally out of some of the original ones, and we're starting to cull, or they're middle-aged, obviously, at this point, so we want to move them on and allow room for our younger stock.
Okay. Do you and Johnny still talk? Does he still offer some advice to help you?
Yes, we talk probably every week and discuss wider range of things. But yes, he was a valuable asset and gave me a wide range of wisdom with no expectations of ever getting anything out of it. He's never even tried to sell me a cow. So
that's the best.
Very good right? person. Yeah.
So now that you have the Longhorns, what's your favorite part?
So after the initial investment of a few, I got that Red River Darling, that Butler cow. And so with the researching of the Butler genetics, I found that Milby Butler had his herd in League City. Well, I grew up in Huntsville, Texas, so we're talking 60, 70 miles north of there probably. And being a Butler, one of my biggest favorite parts are just being a Butler and knowing where a lot of this horn comes from, and a lot of the genetics in most of our cows today stem back to Butler. So that's probably like I feel pride just by having the name. I'm not going to say that I am blood related, but I'm also not going to say that I'm not. So
you get asked that a lot?
I do. I actually had someone reach out that is a descendant of Milby off of the Hired Hand website. He found it in Butler Longhorns and thought that I had only Butlers. So that was kind of cool that it definitely, I do get asked that a lot. People get confused, which that's actually why I named us that, because I wanted that recognition right off the bat.
So tell us about some of your goals and dreams for your breeding program.
So goals and dreams, I would say we have started buying what we like, okay, and not just off genetics or horn or anything like that. And we are trying to breed and keep stuff that is so nice that we don't want to sell it, right? And I would say that some of our herd and breeding programs, our goals there are similar to most people. The color, body, horn, total package. But to take it a step further, we really want to reintroduce and establish that Butler genetics, as it's been dissipating from what I'm seeing in the industry. And obviously because I'm Butler, that really piques my interest, and I really want those natural Longhorn characteristics that we stem from. So all the things that are not an undesirable characteristic per the handbook, right? We want to stay true to those characteristics. So we don't like getting big base, and we move things that are, if it turns out like that. But breeding a total package animal that we don't want to sell is really our dream. We have genetics like our Playboy bull with Dale Hunt. That's tough, but more importantly, out of his best producing cow ever is D.H. Red's Temptation. He's produced a lot of big bulls. We also have a half brother to Danica. They actually have the same mother, the same 100-inch 3S touchdown Tari, and he's out of Painted Savage, which has tons of beautiful animals and some bighorn offspring as well. And then we actually have another aspect that we do. So we put all of our heifers on the Butler bull, all our blend heifers, and we have access to a couple bulls that we're using. One's a droopy son out of a cow called Jackie Lynn 698. She's mid to upper 80s, one of the biggest Butler animals, and droopy is well over 80, and so was his sire. So we put those on our Butler blends, as well as a bull called Astro, and he's out of that super big bull Jupiter and a Princess Denim cow. So with our Butler herd, we've obviously used those, but we put them on the blend heifers as well. We're testing that theory of bringing the Butler back into it a little bit more and seeing if we can't get something special like Bob Loomis did.
Love what you're hearing? Be sure to check out our Pickup Truck Confessions.
It's a video series where we hop in the truck or rental car and interview a variety of breeders about what drives their passion for their livestock, how they got started in the breed of their choice, marketing tips, and more.
And now, back to the podcast.
So how long until you think you'll see the results of that testing?
Well, we have animals due soon to those Butler bulls. So this summer, we should be able to see if we're getting that crazy colors, because there's tons of color in the Butler world, it seems. And we should be able to get an idea. We've got some calves now that look good, but it'll be end of the year before we get an idea on some weaning, either 100% Butlers and the blends on a Butler bull.
Well, it sounds like within just a couple of years, you've really had to learn that you have to be patient, but also you've really studied your bloodlines and learned those, and are really honing in on what you think will work for your herd. So that's awesome.
Yes, ma'am. We enjoy it. Every day is, it's a passion. So not only do I know what each animal costs me per day, but I also know that such a passion that we don't really worry about it. So we run it like a business, but we love it so much that it wouldn't matter.
Well, is there anyone that you want to give a special shout out to for helping you get started, or, helping you get to where you are today, or set some of those future goals for yourself? Yeah. So Johnny Hicks, he definitely is the big one that really helped us get started and provided all the sound advice, and don't just buy, and to ask questions. And actually one of the best deals
is don't buy an animal just offline without seeing it or having videos, because there's so many ways that a picture can make an animal look better or get a size comparison. That's one thing he said. He doesn't buy much without seeing a good video or seeing it in person, so you can really get a judge of that animal. Also, Talia, she has definitely been a supporter and never gave me any grief. So we were buying cheap commercial cows at $1,000, right? And then it didn't take, it was the exact same year, we're spending $8,500 on a cow, and she don't give me heck. So with her support, that makes it all the better. She actually bought her first animal of her own last year. So I'm trying to get her bought in, literally and metaphorically.
That's awesome. Well, maybe we'll have to do a follow-up episode where she can join us and tell us about her success.
Yes, she would like that.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit to talk about your website. So what made you choose Hired Hand for your website? Because I know you held out for a while on us, so there's got to be a good reason.
Yes, I did hold out. And the reason was I wasn't ready. Well, I hadn't wanted to really sell anything. I wanted to, for the first few years, I don't want anything to move but what I don't want. And therefore, I didn't want to get people messaging me and that recognition on the website and them seeing those animals, because I know eventually somebody's going to try to buy something. And once people take that idea takes root, they're relentless, right? And being in a kind of a service deal, you don't want to tell everybody no. So I wasn't ready to sell. Therefore, I didn't want to, and not really that I am now, but now that we're more established, I want everybody to have the opportunity to see what we're doing. And with the Hired Hand, that makes that possible. So I love the idea. Y'all are the mecca. You're the hub of all the information. And if you go a different route, unless you're a monster breeder, maybe, it makes it more difficult. And I knew that because I actually had a cheap website done on my own at first, and it just there was no recognition there. You couldn't research animals and click on a dam and it take you to her offspring on with that database. So therefore, Hired Hand, it's because of the mecca and all the data and the simplicity, it makes it the way to go. We knew that to begin with. We just wouldn't accept it at first.
Well, we were happy to finally have you on board. We'll say that. So tell us a little bit about the considerations or decisions you made when you were developing your design, as well as your pages and the information that you're sharing with your viewers.
So most people, or lots of websites, they have a cow, or they're simple. They just have cows or something. When you come to our website, we want you to have an experience, and we want to get to know you and people to know us, not just our cows. So we put family photos, we put a little Longhorn video, and we wanted it to be a well-rounded experience. So therefore, we put some other pages in there with our Butler cattle, as well as the Butler history, because it's like one of the 7 families that still stayed true to this day. So that history is very important to us. And so that's part of some of the pages and links that we've added to our website, and for that reason.
Well, I think your site I think you can tell that you've really put a lot of thought into it, and it does exactly what you said. It helps people get to know you as the breeder, not just know your animals. It's very visually pleasing and has lots of helpful information. So I think you did a great job with that.
Well, it's glad one person likes it.
How are you trying to stand out in the breed with your website?
So with that, I want it to be a fun, kind of, a little touched on a little bit, but a fun experience, yet simple, with our personality and the heritage of the history of the cattle and some experience that people don't typically get to see. So there's some education people don't typically get to see without researching the True Butler website. It takes you to some of the old information.
Okay. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners, either about your family, your breeding program, or your website before we ask you our final question?
Oh, let's see. Maybe go big or go home.
So what do you mean by that? Talk to all the newbies out there. What do you mean by that?
Well, it costs the same amount to feed a $10,000 cow as it does a $1,000 cow. And the numbers work out so much better with having less but more quality.
Great.
So I think that is, it took me a year to figure that out, right? But we have moved to that direction and started just honing in on what we really like and what we really feel is the best and staying small. And it makes it much more enjoyable. You don't just have a cow. So I think that's one way to do it. Another quote that would go along with that, if somebody's scared to spend more than $1,000 on one of our magnificent creatures, would say is, man can't discover new oceans if he doesn't have the courage to lose sight of the shore. So if you stay in that mindset forever, you're never going to grow in the way that you might have desire to.
Great advice. All right. Are you ready for our final question?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. So besides your own, you can't answer your own. What is your favorite hired hand powered website?
Okay. So one that stands out in my mind that I've noticed I think the first year we got started, is Helm Cattle. So theirs was very flashy, and I think part of it, maybe even their logo, but it just jumped at me for some reason. And maybe it was also the colors, but Helm Cattle Company definitely was one that stood out in our mind, or in my mind, as well as they had, or not they, the next one was Hudson. So with Mike Willinger, their homepage, when you clicked on it, when you were scrolling, there's some bulls on there, and they actually bubbled at you. They got bigger in size just by scrolling. And so that was, in my mind, that was just a feature that said, whoa, it connected you. It made you feel, it kind of grabbed you a little bit, stood out so that you remember it, which probably one of those two are the two that, aside from my own, of course.
Gotta get that in there, right?
That's right.
Well, perfect. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. And like I said earlier, we're so excited to have you on board and have your new website live. We'll be sure to link that in our show notes so that people can go visit it. Also follow you on social media. We'll link those accounts, and then we'll put a link out to both the Helm Cattle Company and the Hudson Longhorns website as well, so folks can check those out.
Wonderful.
So what are some of the next few events that we'll see you at?
Not consignments, but the futurity entry for the Midwest sale in El Dorado, Kansas as well. We've really gotten into the show side, or not show, but futurity aspect. We really enjoy it, and it's a great place. It's actually my peace. It's what lets me go free. I let go of all the worries of the world and all the issues on a day-to-day and weekly agenda. It just sets me free, kind of like pulling in the gate to the farm.
That's awesome. Well, we will hope to see you at one of those events, and then hopefully folks can look for you there as well and meet you in person if they haven't already and get to learn a little bit more about your program.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.